as far as the HIIT training goes, it is absolutely important for your cardiovascular health, and your body will get deeper rest at night when you're sleeping, and throughout the day you'll be in a more relaxed, calm state if your cardiovascular health is in a good place, if your VO2 max is in a good place.
Yep.
Your heart rate will be down, your respiratory rate will be down, your body will be able to down regulate more effectively if you're once or twice a week pushing yourself with that kind of HIIT training, sprints, heart rate up type exercise.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yep, absolutely.
So that's where I see the benefit of that.
Yeah, I always explain it like your cardio is meant for cardiovascular health. It is not meant for fat loss.
It doesn't burn fat, it burns calories.
Yes. And again, going back to what we said kind of at the beginning of the episode, the more cardio you do instead of strength training you do, the more efficient your metabolism is going to be.
Yeah, you're asking your body to adapt
Yep.
to being more efficient.
I mean, you look at any long distance athlete, they're incredibly thin. They have very little lean mass because their body has no ability to maintain that mass on their frame. So they're burning through that energy. So it's helpful in tandem with the strength training as a way to improve your cardiovascular health, because there's so many benefits from a longevity standpoint, like you explained, to doing it. Like you should incorporate it in some way, but yeah, it is not the big rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And again, you can get that benefit with like
Just lift weights heavier or lift weights faster.
Yeah. So you can get that zone too by doing, like
Just go 60-second rest and
you go do a real resistance training session where you're only resting 60 seconds and you're doing sets of 10 to 15 reps.
yeah,
That's
kick your ass.
That's going to cook you.
Yep.
Now, the cardiovascular benefits that you're seeking, you can get that in like 2 10-minute sessions a week. This is not negotiable. You can, by doing some protocols on an assault bike or a Rogue Echo bike.
That's exactly what my cardio has been for the last 6 months.
Yeah, you do
2 times a week. I'm hopping on that assault bike, and it's like, I'm going to go 2.5 miles, and I'm doing it at a pace that I can withstand. Like I want to be able to kind of nose breathe, and if I needed to have conversation, but I'll do that a couple times a week, and I'll kind of change the goal. If it's 2.5 miles, if it's 100 calories, if it's hit 10 minutes, like whatever that parameter is that you're trying to reach. But the idea is just doing it at a pace that you can stand and then check it off the list. Like,
that's great. I will say what's been shown to be more effective is sprints.
okay.
So something like
more interval style.
Exactly. Something like a Tabata type structure where you're going hard for 20 seconds
Yep.
and then resting for 10 seconds and repeating that 8 times for a total of 4 minutes. You can get a massive, massive beneficial cardiovascular effect and an increase in your mitochondrial density. So the amount of mitochondria that your cells have, which the mitochondria in your cell are what produce energy. So if you have a higher density of mitochondria in your cells, your body is producing more energy per cell, which comes back to the metabolism ramping up. So through strength training, but also through these high intensity sprints where you're pushing really, really, really hard and then taking a rest and then doing it again, you can get a really powerful benefit. And again, 4 to 10 minutes and they suck.
Totally.
Oh my, it's really uncomfortable.
Yeah, but you knock it out.
But you're,
Once it's done,
but you're done.
Now, would you say, and this is getting a little more into specifics of the exercise piece of that, but would you say there's just as much benefit to going balls to the walls on an Echo as the example, resting to the point where you're kind of like fully recovered, and then going at it again? Or is the benefit kind of keeping that stimulus about, midway and then?
Mm-hmm. It depends.
Okay.
It depends on what your goal is.
Yep.
If your goal is to improve your total power output,
Yeah.
then resting till you're completely refreshed and going at it again
Yep.
is going to give you a better benefit for increasing your ability to increasing your top end power output.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
But as far as the cardiovascular effect or this mitochondrial density effect that we're talking about, resting a shorter period of time where you're having to try and hit it again before you're fully recovered is going to give you a better benefit.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then when we come back to this idea of like a HIIT training class, like so many people, you go to an exercise class, and what you're doing is in this group of 16, 20, 30 people, you're bouncing from station to station. You're doing 30 seconds on, you're doing 30 seconds off. You're rotating from one movement to the next, to the next, to the next. You're doing some sort of jumping variation and some sort of, on the floor you're.
It's always like done with the idea of like, we're just going to like break you down to the core.
Don't get me started on just just awful mechanics and programming of some of these bigger classes. But people go there and they think, I just did a hard workout.
Yes.
I'm burning so much fat. You didn't burn any fat.
Nope.
You burned calories.
Yes.
And with that calorie burn, if you put yourself in a calorie deficit with the food that you're eating that day, then you will lose weight.
Mm-hmm.
You will lose weight. It's not guaranteed necessarily that you will lose body fat.
Yeah, there's something to be said about, because a lot of those classes are marketed in the sense where it's we're fat burning.
Mm-hmm.
Like the idea of burning fat for energy and losing body fat are two different things.
Mm-hmm.
Like you might be in a state where, as that heart rate gets up and you're starting to, it's starting to be a little more intense, your body's looking to fat as the fuel source if it's in your system, but it's not like it's incinerating like your love handles off of your body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
just flamethrowers.
And then eventually that heart rate's going to get so high that you're just using glucose anyways. So
exactly. Yeah. That's the big thing that gets overlooked is that once your heart rate gets high enough, once the demand gets high enough, you're just burning whatever blood sugar is in your whatever sugar's in your blood, whatever carbohydrates and sugars are stored in your muscles or stored in your liver. So you just ate through whatever glycogen stores you had, but you didn't actually burn any fat.
Mm-hmm.
So again, if you are in a calorie deficit that day because of your 700 calorie burn workout, you might lose weight on the scale, but that doesn't necessarily, if you lose a pound on the scale, doesn't mean that you lost a pound of body fat.
Correct.
It could be a pound of muscle mass, connective tissue, water weight. Could be anything.
Yep.
Right? So we have to look at, okay, what state does your body actually burn fat the most effectively in?
Mm-hmm.
And it's when you are in a parasympathetic nervous system state. When your body is at ease, that's when there's like the least like intense demand. Mm-hmm. That is when your body actually is burning fat for fuel.
Yeah.
Because there's 3 energy sources: phosphocreatine, carbohydrate, and fat. And they go from higher intensity to lower intensity.
Yep.
If you're exploding, you're using phosphocreatine. If you're doing that mid-range, lifting weights or doing a high-intensity workout, you're using carbohydrates or glucose. And then finally, in a longer, slower state movement, you're using fat. So what I always recommend to people that want to lose fat, best thing you can do,
walk. I was like, we could do that together.
Walk.
Yep.
Lift weights, put muscle on, get enough protein, be in a slight calorie deficit. Mm-hmm. You don't need to go crush hard, intense workouts as far as like high intensity intervals.
Yep.
Walk every day.
Yep.
At a casual pace. And that is like so big for burning fat.